So again, the expectation is not that you are required to create a 45-day plan. I just wanted to share that template with you in case that is an expectation in your building. And even if it's not an expectation, it is an extremely helpful process to explore to make sure, one, that you do plan out how you're going to teach all of the new curriculum by the end of the year and how you're going to embed remediation and reteaching. And again, the Power School Assessment Analytics, or the PSAA information, I know is only applicable to those of you who teach the 4 core content areas, but I just wanted to remind you of how you can use that data analysis in the most productive and purposeful way. And again, just access that document in the Google Classroom for more step-by-step explicit directions with images of what it will look like in the program. So your assignment in Google Classroom is to select one of the classes that you teach. It could be a specific content area. I know some of you teach multiple preps at the secondary level, so just pick one class. You don't need to do it for every class for my purposes. And just identify 3 strands, topics that are weaknesses based on your formative assessment data. And tell me what data you're using to identify those strands. Is it based on percentages from a Power School Assessment Analytics test? Is it based on tests that you have designed? Is it based on lab results? If your students are doing labs, is it based on projects? What assessment data are you using to identify those weaknesses? And then what's your plan for reteaching? How are you going to address those weaknesses? And then what are current strengths, 3 current strengths for that specific class, the same class that you've selected based on your assessment data. And then once you've identified your three weaknesses for that class and your 3 strengths, I want you to just reflect for a couple minutes about the topics that are strengths. Why do you think those are strengths? The topics that are weaknesses, why do you think those are weaknesses? Was it linked in any way to how it was taught? Did you use different instructional delivery methods that maybe kids responded better to one than the other? Is it based on your interest level? Did they do really well in something that you have a passion for? Did they do really well in World War II because that's your passion, and then they didn't do so well on the Agricultural Revolution because that's not something you're very interested in? And so just share a few statements about what you think that the weaknesses and strengths are tied to. And so you will put that reflection that answers those questions in Google Classroom. Again, it will be an assignment in Google Classroom that you will need to complete by the end of the month. And then I also want to remind you of our next face-to-face meeting. We will meet on Tuesday, March 5th after school, so from 3:45 to 4:45 at CVCC, the Bedford campus. And we will be delving deeper into personalized learning, which of course is one of our initiatives in Bedford County. It is part of our strategic plan. So we'll be looking at and hearing from our supervisor of personalized learning as she shares her expertise with what Bedford's currently doing, where we're headed, and what are some tools that we can use to help you in your quest to start to personalize or to move further down the path of personalization if you're already on that path. If you haven't completed the assignments in Google Classroom from our December meeting, you need to do that as soon as possible. Remember, at the end of the year, your recertification points that you earn for teacher induction will be based on your attendance at these meetings that are face-to-face, and then also on your completion of the assignments in Google Classroom. If you don't complete those assignments, then you will not receive the points. So please just make sure that you do that. I know you're busy and you have 55 things to do, but just make sure that you get those done. And in this new assignment for the February meeting, make sure that you have that completed by the end of the month. Also, as just a quick reminder, hopefully you are embedding thinking maps where appropriate. That doesn't mean every single day, all the time. Where it's appropriate, where it aligns with your standards, and where it reinforces what we're hoping students will understand. If you will be saving a few student samples of some maps, because I will be asking you to bring some student samples to our May meeting. And so I just want you to kind of be saving a few as you go along so you're not scrambling at the end of the year to have some student samples. So again, we don't need one from every student, just a couple of samples of a couple of different maps that you've used in your practice, if you can save those. So again, the 45-day plan is not a requirement. You do not need to fill out that template. That is just a tool that, depending on what the requirements and expectations are in your building, that's a great tool that you can use to help you think about, is my instruction purposeful? Is it based on previous assessment data? And then how am I changing future instruction based on the results that I get? So I hope you have a great month. Hopefully you will stay warm, and I look forward to seeing you in March. Thanks.